Thank you very much. From the patriots of Lexington and Concord to the heroes of Gettysburg and Normandy, from the warriors who crossed the Delaware to the trailblazers who climbed the Rockies, and from the legends who soared at Kitty Hawk to the astronauts who touched the moon, Americans have always been the people who defied all odds, transcended all dangers, made the most extraordinary sacrifices, and did whatever it took to defend our children, our country, and our freedom. And as we have seen in this chamber tonight, that same strength, faith, love, and spirit is still alive and thriving in the hearts of the American people. Despite the best efforts of those who would try to censor us, silence us, break us, destroy us, Americans are today a proud, free, sovereign, and independent nation that will always be free, and we will fight for it till death. We will never let anything happen to our beloved country, because we are a country of doers, dreamers, fighters, and survivors. Our ancestors crossed a vast ocean, strode into the unknown wilderness, and carved their fortunes from the rock and soil of a perilous and very dangerous frontier. They chased our destiny across a boundless continent. They built the railroads, laid the highways, and graced the world with American marvels like the Empire State Building, the mighty Hoover Dam, and the towering Golden Gate Bridge. They lit the world with electricity, broke free of the force of gravity, fired up the engines of American industry, vanquished the communists, fascists, and Marxists all over the world, and gave us countless modern wonders sculptured out of iron, glass, and steel. We stand on the shoulders of these pioneers who won and built the modern age. These workers who poured their sweat into the skylines of our cities. These warriors who shed their blood on fields of battle and gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. Now it is our time to take up the righteous cause of American liberty. And it is our turn to take America's destiny into our own hands and begin the most thrilling days in the history of our country. This will be our greatest era. With God's help, over the next 4 years, we are going to lead this nation even higher, and we are going to forge the freest, most advanced, most dynamic, and most dominant civilization ever to exist on the face of this earth. We are going to create the highest quality of life, build the safest and wealthiest and healthiest and most vital communities anywhere in the world. We are going to conquer the vast frontiers of science, and we're going to lead humanity into space and plant the American flag on the planet Mars and even far beyond. Through it all, we are going to rediscover the unstoppable power of the American spirit, and we are going to renew unlimited promise of the American dream. Every single day we will stand up and we will fight, fight, fight for the country our citizens believe in and for the country our people deserve. My fellow Americans, get ready for an incredible future, because the golden age of America has only just begun. It will be like nothing that has ever been seen before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
And President Trump concluding what we believe is the longest speech of this type made to the Congress speech that took many, many arcs. There were, in fact, some surprises in there, some poignant moments, also some moments I think many would agree probably weren't helpful, including those protests we saw early by some Democratic members and at least one being escorted out at the request of the Speaker.
And the president talking about his agenda, talked about the tariffs that, of course, have just gone into effect this week, and it's certainly doubled down on that strategy. That they indicated there would be more to come. Talked about foreign policy, and it appeared that he's ready to move forward with Ukraine, but talked a lot about Ukraine and Russia and getting a peace deal, something that is very much at the top of mind. And then a lot of the cultural issues, a lot of time spent on some of the more controversial federal programs that he says his Department of Government Efficiency is cutting. So a wide-ranging and, as mentioned, the longest speech ever in the State of the Union or a joint address. So he now holds the top spot there. Just go to Kristen Welker for your thoughts.
Savannah, I was struck by the fact that after that rocky start, when Congressman Al Green was removed for yelling at him, this really became a speech about cultural issues, a culture war speech, if you will. And he spent about 20 minutes on it. It took him 20 minutes to talk about the top issue for voters, which is, by the way, the economy. He also talked about immigration, the environment, government censorship, all of those things. A couple of headlines. You talked about tariffs. That's obviously a huge issue because there's a lot of concern among some Republicans that the tariffs that he's imposed against Mexico and Canada and China can drive up prices. He acknowledged, quote, there will be a little disturbance and it will require a little adjustment. That is significant. That's the furthest that he's ever leaned into that. On foreign policy, he announced that the top terrorist responsible for the Abbey Gate bombing is being flown to the U.S., is going to face justice. And notably on Ukraine, I thought that was one of the biggest headlines of the night after that explosive Oval Office meeting. The president seeming to indicate some progress has been made. President Zelensky sending him a note indicating he wants to make peace. He wants to move forward on that minerals deal, which is seen as the first step, and saying that he had some significant conversations with the Russians as well. He said it would be beautiful to get a deal. So I think those are some of the significant headlines. But again, so notable that he began this speech really focused on those culture war issues, and reminder that that's part of what swept him into the White House.
In so many ways, this was President Trump characteristically almost defiant. His message was, I'm not going anywhere, I'm not backing down on so many of these key issues for him. And as he put it, we are only just getting started after a first 43 days in office where his administration is touted, and he did tonight the number of executive orders he has signed, the actions that he's taken moving forward. So you look at something, though, as far as what Americans care about, right? We know they care about the economy and their wallets. Kristen mentioned this issue of tariffs. And yes, while the president did acknowledge that folks like farmers may feel some pain, he also gave his presidential spin on this, suggesting that car companies would be behind it, that it would usher in a new era for these car companies. That has not been what we have heard from those companies thus far. It was only a matter of weeks ago that the head of Ford suggested that long-term tariffs could blow a hole in the automotive industry here in this country. So that is a real question mark, especially when his own Commerce Secretary just hours ago previewed the potential for a compromise here. On these cultural war issues that you heard the president lean into, it's interesting to me, he brought up some of these transgender issues that he has talked about so often, even before he got to some of the economic issues that are perhaps more visceral for many Americans. You wonder, well, why is that? Look at some of the polling here. Look at some of the numbers. In poll after poll, the majority of adults approve of what the president has done in his policies regarding, for example, diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, and banning transgender athletes from participating in women's sports, for example. So that he sees that as a political winner for him. You heard him lean into that early on in his speech here. It was also interesting when we talk about the economy. What do we talk about a lot? Egg prices, eggflation, right? I mean, this is something that any American, you go to the grocery store, you look at the shelves, you're talking about. He did make a glancing reference to that, in part pinning the blame for that on his predecessor, President Biden. We know that it is the avian flu that has spiked egg prices after 166 million egg-laying chickens had to be killed because of it. His administration, he rolled out a plan for this. It does, they do have a plan to, for example, invest more heavily in vaccines for this, to import more, if you will. But he didn't get into some of the details on that to try to make the case to Americans that he's working for them to try to lower the prices. Overall, however, he really leaned into the fact that he is going to be continuing to press the case with, for example, Elon Musk, as you see him walking out, really linking Doge and what Musk is doing to these culture war issues that we've been talking about here.
We should note this is an open microphone as the president slowly makes his way, so let's just listen for a few seconds.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. That's good.
New Congressman from Eastern Washington, I never met him. He was one of my niece's best friends. He takes very highly of you. He's tremendous.
Peter Alexander, let me turn to you, and what did you pick up on in this speech?
A couple of things that I heard from someone close to the president who said in their terms this was one of the most unabashedly partisan speeches ever given from the House podium there. They said this is a confident Donald Trump on steroids that you saw tonight. The argument from within the White House is that even independents watching this evening are going to say, among other things, hey, the guy promised stuff and he's getting it done quickly. I think fundamentally the question at the end of the day for a lot of Americans is going to be what's in this for me, and that goes to the topic of the little disturbance, as he describes it, as it relates to inflation, and beyond very little acknowledgement of the situation where so many federal workers have been fired so far. Think about this. The president said on multiple occasions tonight that he is going to balance the budget. Let's say you fire every federal worker in the country. You save 8% of the annual budget. To get, you're going to have to get on Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security issues. He says he's not going to go anywhere near to. So we have some real challenges right now, and already Americans say that their
talk
opinions
about
are paid.
also tax cuts and not taxing tips, and so you're also reducing revenue at the same time.
Yeah.
So one policy alert, balancing the budget is there's a reason that Washington almost never does it.
He didn't seem to get into the idea of the workers who have been laid off. That was essentially went around that. Things that so many members of his own party are dealing with congressmen right now.
To Peter's point, promises made, promises kept. The president got on the campaign trail with Elon Musk and said that this is what he was going to do, is slash the federal workforce. I will tell you that I talked to a Republican member of Congress just tonight who said that she's going to continue. She's going to hold a town hall next week, even after some of these warnings from Republicans, to think about how you conduct these town halls after we've seen a number of protests that have gone viral online of Republicans getting booed or shouted down because of these Doge cuts. Many Republicans, the White House will say those are operatives, those are sort of paid demonstrators, etc. But we are seeing that sort of over and over again now as Republicans start to think about the way that they are positioning themselves back home in their districts.
One of the big issues tonight had to do with how the Democrats would respond to this speech, and we saw it all over the map, from open resistance and a member of Congress being escorted out, to signs, to a more quiet protest of wearing different colors. We're about to hear from the Democrats officially. The Democratic response is just moments away, so we want to sneak in a break right here. Michigan Senator Elissa Slotkin on deck next. We'll bring it to you live right after this.